Okay. Hello, hello. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have you here, Stephanie, today.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yay. Well, let's dive in. You're a mom. What maybe life looked like before coming online?
Yeah, of course. So I am from Idaho, the Boise area. We've been here for years. I think we're like sixth generation right now. So it's been like we're from Idaho.
Wow.
Mm. I have six kiddos, so ranging from 11 to 18 months. Let me rewind a little bit to kind of like give you
Yeah.
a little bit of background of me. When my very first daughter was born, when she was about 4 weeks old, we moved to this teeny tiny town in California, and it was in the high desert, and there wasn't much to do there. We got, like, a super Walmart while we were there, and that was, like, a really big deal. And so I moved there, and I just felt so lost. And I taught myself calligraphy, so then I started doing wedding calligraphy on the side. And then I had a couple more kids while we were there, so I was at 3 kids, and I was doing a lot of photography from there. And we ended up coming back up to Idaho because that's where we're both from, my husband and I, and I kept doing the photography, and then I got into yoga, and I have my yoga training certificate, and I just always have wanted to do something online. Yeah, so then I along the way, we've flipped several houses. Growing up, my mom was always renovating our house, and I would do it with her. We would go to Home Depot and talk to the people there, and they'd teach us how to tile and do this, so I was, like, very much doing all of that with her, and so that's always been kind of something that I've done, and now I do it with my husband. So,
That's so cool.
that's kinda where we're at. Yeah.
I love that. Well, for those that are listening today, a lot of my followers have and listeners have social media presence. They're in all different fields, probably, a decent amount of them in the real estate industry, but in all different industries. And I think you are someone that they absolutely would be looking up to and aspire to be like and have a story like yours. And so, what like really inspired you to start a brand new account? And real quick, just to add one more thing to this, for those that don't know, Stephanie and I met a while ago, and then she joined my social academy program in the winter to spring-ish time frame of just this last year. And so she went through that program with me, and I'll never forget, like in the middle of that program, her being like contemplating about starting over. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're like, a couple weeks into this thing, and like this girl wants to start a brand new account. Like, this is not good. And I'm over here like, well, you know what? If she feels like this is, the thing she needs to do, like she needs to go for it. But you get hesitant because sometimes people will say like the grass is greener. You think that it's gonna get easier if you just start over. But like for you, it really did work out. And so tell us what inspired you to start a brand new page.
So, to give a little bit of context behind this, in the fall of 2022, we had a business that we bought into, and we bought, into it and used, like, a good chunk of our savings. And it ended up not being anything that we thought it was gonna be, and it was kind of like a toxic environment. And so, summer of last year, so summer of 2024, I had just had my 6th baby, and we decided to walk away from this business that we were a part of, and by walking away, we lost, like, all of our savings. And so here we are, we have 6 kids, and we've walked away from, like, a huge amount of money, and we're starting over. And so my husband has a background in door-to-door sales, so he was doing a bit of that throughout the summer, but he didn't love, like, the specific thing he was selling at the time. And so I had been watching you and a few other people, and I was like, "I know so much about so many things," and I was so distracted. I was like, "I could do this or I could do that," and I would just spiral all the time on, like, "Well, which one do I wanna talk about forever?" Right? And so when I joined your social academy, I remember we, like, didn't have the money for me to do it, and I put it on, like, a 0 interest credit card. I was like, "I need the accountability, like, we have to do this." And so I had an Instagram account that it had probably been open for 5 years, and I had kept changing it, and when I first joined the social academy, I wanted to focus on, like, prenatal depression,
Yep.
which was something I struggled with. And I just, like, was not getting traction. I was doing everything that you were talking about, but it just felt, like, so hard. And so in my mind, I was like, "Well, let me just start something that is fun and apply all of these principles and see what happens with it." and something that I would go back to is the home design. So I just started a brand new account and was just sharing things about home design. And then I went from 100 followers to then like 3,000 followers in like a couple weeks. And I was like, you guys, I remember showing up. I was like, I had this thing kind of go viral, like 100,000 views, but I have 3,000 followers after like a week. And it was so crazy because I had just implemented everything from like the social academy, and having that, like the accountability
Accountability.
was so like pivotal in that moment. And also kind of that like desperation that I had. I was like, I need
Yeah.
to make something work and I know that it can. So,
Yep. You had everything you needed. And that's so relatable to people because I know there's a lot of people who will listen to this. And one, please go check out Stephanie's page. I'll drop it in the show notes below and we'll tag it in a minute. But if you haven't looked her up at Clear Collective on Instagram, the accountability piece though is so huge, and I think that people don't understand sometimes how valuable that can be because we think, well, the knowledge is there online, or I can watch other people, I can learn on my own, and I was guilty of that. Like I did not start seeing really major success. You guys might hear my puppy in the background, and this is just real life. My husband is hunting this week, and so I'm holding down the fort at home. But anyway, um we often think we can do it ourselves, and you can do it yourself. But one of the things that I learned really quickly with investing in myself and putting myself in rooms with people that had done what I wanted to achieve was that it really collapsed some of the time and it held me to the fire. Like Stephanie said, I mean, we don't encourage anyone to go and put like an investment on a credit card, but she found a way. Like when there's a will, there's a way. She was like, I'm desperate and I have to figure something out. So thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that with the audience. And okay, next question. Did you ever feel doubt or worry that no, well, this is more in regards to like you now starting to put together your product, which maybe share with people like what was your first offer that you put out there on this page. So you're growing, you're seeing the videos go viral, and then you're like, I'm gonna put out a product. What was that product and like what was, roughly the price point?
so the first product I came up with was a paint guide. And so I I grew up painting and I was like, "Oh, people just think they can ask a paint color and it works." And so I thought they needed this paint guide, right? I was like, "You guys need to understand all of these things." And so it's about 80 pages and it goes through like undertones and picking with like fixed elements in your home, and it teaches you a lot of really valuable things. Um and the price point was, I want to say I launched it at like $37. And I was like, this is going to be great. I had think around like 7,000 followers at the time. I was like, everyone's gonna buy it and it's gonna be this like one hit wonder. And I launched it and no one bought it. And I was devastated. It took probably a month for like a sale to come in. And yeah, it was hard because I was like, you guys need this. Like, why is nobody buying it? And so it really just made me step back and kind of look more at my audience and what they were saying and what I was seeing, instead of me being like, I know what you need. It was more of like
Yes.
me wanting. And then I was able to kind of pivot from there.
That is so relatable because my first product did the same thing. It was $67 and it was 3 sales in, like, 30 days that I received, and it was, like, pulling teeth to get anyone to buy it, and I thought it was so needed, like, this is how I've set my goals and how I use my whiteboard, and I thought it would be so impactful, but, like, the message wasn't resonating with what my audience needed, so I love that feedback too for new people. Okay, so going through that and you're not really seeing the sales, like, how did you push through that and not just, like, kinda throw in the towel or, like, say, "I'm gonna go back to my, like, postpartum content," or, "I'm gonna go back to, like, something else because these sales aren't really coming in," because that is really, what happens to a lot of people is they don't see the success right away that they're thinking they're gonna get, and they don't push through and potentially pivot.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, it was kinda just taking a step back and realizing, like, people want to know about design. For me, it just, like, I see something and I just know it works, and I can work through it and kinda work through it with clients and figure it out, but there are people that it just doesn't click with, and so I
Yeah.
knew that there was something there. People were asking, but what they were asking for was more of the finished work. They wanted that. So in that moment, I decided to keep my paint guide. It's still live on my website, but I've made it an upsell. So it's an upsell when you check out from my main product now.
That makes so much sense. Um, when when you started growing and you started seeing a lot of, new faces and followers come into your page, was there like one or two things that you can share with the audience that you focused on, like key factors you focused on growing this account and not getting so distracted because there's so many people online who teach like Instagram growth and like do this, don't do this. Um, do you feel like there was one or two things that helped you?
I think for sure. I think one of my favorite things about starting a new Instagram page was that I was following 0 people. And so it wasn't just all these people that I had been following forever and kind of that weird, oh, if I unfollow them, is it going to be offensive? Or, that some of these things that you go through. And so I have been very, very picky about who I follow. And if I notice that something isn't resonating, I just quickly unfollow because it just feels like that page is my business page and I very
Yeah.
treat it like a business.
Wow.
So I think that's been something that's so, so helpful.
Wow, and I think people get in their head because they know, like, this person might have said a comment or even posted something that you disagree with or whatever. I mean, even, the state of the world that we're in now, like, there's so many opinions and politics and so many different disagreeing, things that happen online that could be more social and not as much business related, and so I think it gets in people's head, and so Stephanie makes a great point, like, treat your business page if it's your business and your personal page, like, treat it like a business, if that's what you're relying on to make sales. So, how do you balance being a mom and building your business? We have a lot of moms who follow me, and I'm a mom myself, and, so you being a mom of 6 and a wife, like, how do you balance doing business and, still maintaining, like, those priorities in your life?
So I think that's like a great question. And I think it's been kind of interesting this year as well, because more of a background, my husband left this summer. He went back to like his main thing that he did sales, door to door sales with. And so he was gone for about 5 months. He was gone like Monday through Saturday. And so there was a point where I was feeling very, very burned out, but I was also very much raised in like, you got it, you can figure it out. So it took a lot of humility for me to be like, I can't actually do this. So I hired a nanny that would come in and I would go and do all of my work in that time. Um, and then I'd come home and I could focus on my kids and I could do some of these things that I was able to separate the time more. And I do feel like now that I have a business online, I don't find myself just scrolling like I used to. Like my kids know now when they see me on my phone, they're like, "Oh, mom's working." And I'll say, "Yeah, I just got to do this really fast and then I'm going to put my phone down." And so I think it's made me more intentional because I feel like I have a purpose online as opposed to, oh, let me escape through other people's lives. Let me go live
Yeah.
vicariously through these people that are making the money that I wanna make or living the life that I wanna live. It's like, no, it's made me take more accountability for my life and be more intentional with, like, that's not the kind of person I wanna be. That's not the example I wanna set for my kids.
Wow.
So
I think that's so good for people to hear. And a lot of people in motherhood feel like they lose themselves to which I mean, being a stay-at-home mom sounds like the hardest job. Like I have never been a full-time stay-at-home mom. It's not easy by any means, but I hear from a lot of stay-at-home moms that message me saying, I want something that I can still be working towards outside of motherhood. Now my kids are getting older, they're in school now. Like what is something I can be working on? And I just love that this space and the flexibility of the online world allows you to, serve both of those pillars in your life without necessarily having to like sacrifice much. So yeah, that's wonderful. What when it comes to like community in your specific online page, your content, like is there anything that stands out as far as, like, what you have done, or what you have noticed is important with being consistent, showing up, showing your audience, like, trying out maybe different types of content, bringing community together? Like, is there anything that stands out for you that you could share with the listeners today, about how you've been able to, like, maintain some of this growth?
I think for me, one of the biggest things that I implement that I know not everyone has access to on Instagram is trial reels. So I have a bunch of drafts in my reels in my Instagram that I keep. And if I don't have anything specific to post, I'll take one of those and I'll update it and I'll post it on trial reels with a couple different songs. So um, so with trial reels, I don't know if everyone knows what it is, but it gets pushed to people that don't follow you. And so I think that's been something that's very pivotal too. And then I would say another thing that I really try to do is I try to be in my DMs and, like, have real conversations with people. I think sometimes
Yes.
it's so easy for people to just be like, "Oh, give me this link," or, "Oh, do this for me," and just treat you kind of like they're almost, like, entitled to my time or entitled to,
Yeah.
like, all of the things that I'm doing, and so I think it's been really good to have some of these conversations with people that are like, "Hey, like, I'm a human too, like, let's talk about this, and, like, how can I help you?" And then I've made some great relationships with people in my DMs who, maybe came off, like, hot, right? They're like, "Ooh, a little bit fired about something that I posted,"
Yep.
and then you're able to, like, be like, "Okay, that's not how I meant it, let's talk about this." And I have I can think of 3 or 4 off the top of my head that they're commenting on everything, they send me DMs frequently, and they're, like, so excited, and I feel like the community comes by creating these conversations in my DMs.
That's so cool. I always say conversations lead to conversions, and that's exactly it. Okay, let's get into some fun stuff. So, like, what was your biggest pinch me moment so far where you are doing this? I mean, you were so consistent, making this work. You've, invested in yourself in multiple different ways. What was that moment where you're like, wait, I think this actually might work? Like, this actually might be working?
Probably when I launched my very first guide, and so let me tell you a little bit about the guide. So it is a complete home guide, and the first style I did was an organic modern, and so in this, it comes with a kitchen, a living room, butlers, a primary suite. There's 3 more bathrooms, a laundry, mudroom, like everything that you need, an exterior that all comes together, and it's very much made to be kind of like guardrails, right? Everything that you need inside to get this style. So you can give it to a contractor, plug and play, or you can customize it and you can mix and match things
Love that.
within. And so the first one I launched was that organic modern, and when I launched it, I had hit, like, I think it was, like, $1,400 by 10 o'clock in the morning when I launched it, and I was like, "What? What is this?" And
This is working.
my husband even was like, "I didn't know this was even possible because he was so excited about the paint guide, and then it kinda just flopped, and then I worked so hard. I probably put in close to 100 hours on that first guide to get it ready, and when I finally launched it, he was like, "Wow, you should keep going. You need to keep doing this." So that was really cool.
That's so cool. Having a spouse that supports you too. I know not everyone listening has that, but even just finding someone in your life that supports you, if it's not a spouse, that's like a cheerleader for you is so helpful. Okay, a mistake or lesson that maybe you learned early on, and maybe you already shared one of these, but that others could have potentially avoid.
Honestly, I think it was waiting to start, like, getting so lost in my head and just going back and forth on things, and I think that one of the beautiful things that you teach is having this personal brand that can kind of adapt.
Yeah.
And I think within, like, the home design, it's like mine's gonna stay home design, but I have the option to do custom work if I want. I have the option to do decor. Right now, I love, like, the hard finishes and the design, and so that's where I'm focused. But, yeah, I literally watched you. I remember this is a funny story. I remember one December, I think it was right before you were starting your coaching thing, and you had that reel where you're like, "My goal is for" whatever the next year was, I don't remember.
Yes, this was like over 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, so probably coming up on 3 years this December, and your one goal was to hit $100,000 in coaching, and I was like, "That would be amazing." And then you hit that so fast, and I was like, "I wanna do this, like, how is she doing this?" And
Wow.
I got so stuck in my head trying to pick the perfect thing and making it be perfect, and I wish I would have just started because the success I found, especially in the last I launched my guide that started really making money for me in, April, and so really since April, like, where would I have been if I would have started when that
Yeah.
inspired me 2 years ago, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Wow. Wow, that is so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. There's so many people on listening right now that are so scared. And I know this because I hear it in my DMs and people will tell me, like, Jenna, I'm so inspired by you. And I'm like, great, I want you to be inspired, but I also want you to take action because I'm not doing this to like boast or brag. Like, I was doing just fine selling real estate. For those that don't know my background, like I was selling real estate, making very good money, but I had this pivot that honestly came out of nowhere. I was wanting to just be a real estate coach. And becoming a real estate coach introduced me to, wow, oh my gosh, there's this whole other world that's available for people like Stephanie that I want to help lead and teach and show them like they can make a full-time income and provide for their family while doing something that they love. So okay, couple last few questions. You guys know my podcast episodes are pretty short, so we'll finish up here quickly. What would you say to the mom listening that wants to start an online business but maybe feels overwhelmed or unsure? Might have just answered that, but
Yeah, I would just say just start. Like, even if
yeah,
you needed to reach out to Jenna or me, like, I will
yeah,
100% be a cheerleader for you. I
yeah,
think it's so fun to encourage people. And really, I have felt my confidence not only as a person and as a wife, but as a mom grow so much more because I was so lost. Like, I love being a stay at home mom. I've been a stay at home mom for 11 years and I love it. I love my kids and I love that is so hard though, and I did feel like I lost myself, so I 100% understand that, like, wanting something outside of cleaning up crumbs and, like, doing the
yeah.
laundry and changing diapers, like, there needs to be something that lights your soul on fire, and so just start.
Love it. Okay, what excites you most about the future of your brand and your business?
Good. Really to just see how big it will become. I don't necessarily have this huge thing that I want it to become, but
Yeah,
I've seen so many people that are so grateful for how it's impacted them and how they're designing their homes now. So really just to see the different designs I can come up with and push myself as a designer. Um, probably
I
just
I love that. Okay, and last question, where can people find you and support you, purchase your guides, learn more about what you're doing in the design space?
yeah, so my Instagram is Clear Creek Collective and you can find me there. I am there and I have stuff on Facebook, but right there, link in bio has all my stuff.
Okay, awesome. Well, Stephanie, this has been so much fun to just chat, and I have had the honor of watching you grow and expand and go from, you know, maybe unsure and wanting more. And I remember you coming in to the social academy and showing up. That's another thing I want to mention real quick for those that are curious about like, man, I love Stephanie's results. I want to have those too. I want to follow in her footsteps. Yeah, and this girl showed up. That's what I want to reiterate. She's busy. She's got a lot going on. She has 6 children. She's married. She's got lots of responsibility. She has, a community. Like there's a lot that she had already on her plate. And also multiple interests. Like that's also something she mentioned today, you guys, multiple different interests. It wasn't like just one thing was like so glaring obvious that she actually ended up pivoting in the middle of our coaching program. But it, what I want to reiterate is that she showed up to the calls. She showed up to her account. She didn't give up even when of Reel didn't go viral. Even when she posted a product that took her a long time to create and her husband watched and they were like, is this even going to work? Like it felt like a fail, like a flop. And so I just am so proud of you, Stephanie. I'm so inspired by you myself because it's so cool to watch. Like I always say, like new energy, right? Come into the space and just see, you keep the blinders on and treat the business like a business and it'll pay you like one, I always say. And that is exactly what you have done. And so I'm just excited for the next year of your business and what you're going to continue to accomplish. And you guys, she is so talented at what she does. So go ahead and check out her guides. Grab one if you're doing a remodel or even a new build, or maybe you just want to spice up one of your spaces. And she's got a really, really, really good eye. So I'm so proud of you and thankful that you came on today. And we'll chat with you soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Jenna.